G'day folks, Jeff here again with another gig review. Well, actually, 2 gig reviews. We've come up to Sydney to see tonight Laibach and tomorrow night Obituary and Wormrot. Should be bloody good. Strange contrast of bands, Laibach being kind of weird, I don't know, industrial pop sort of, I really don't know, and Obituary being horrible sludgy death metal, so should be good. I'll combine the reviews, I think, just for the hell of it. So yeah, tonight, Laibach. Haven't seen them before. I've been a fan of theirs for many years because they're bloody good. Tonight, though, I believe they're doing the whole of their Sound of Music album that they put out a couple of years ago, which is their rather interesting takes on the soundtrack to the old movie The Sound of Music, which I must admit I have seen a lot of times and I quite enjoy the songs. So I've listened to the Laibach album a couple of times and yeah, it's pretty different. It does have the same lyrics, I'll give them that mostly, but the music is not much like it, so I have no idea what to expect tonight. Laibach recently toured North Korea, so I don't think we'll be quite as dramatic a stage show as that, because it was state sanctioned and somewhat elaborate, I believe. One thing that I'll be curious about is the crowd's reaction to their style in general. I mean, I can't imagine many people are going to be going along as pure Sound of Music, the movie fans, thinking, oh, this could be good, because they'll be in for a surprise. But basically, one of their main singers has got a very deep, sort of gruff voice, and him doing Lonely Goat Herder and other funny Sound of Music songs will be interesting. Like, I just piss myself laughing when I hear it, but I don't know quite what sort of feel they're going for it. But so yeah, I suspect I'll be just laughing my ass off the whole gig until they do their own songs, which I'm sure will be a bit more normal. So yeah, I'll be curious to see the crowd reaction. I haven't been to many of these sort of gigs, so it could be interesting. Tomorrow night I'm fairly certain I'll know exactly what to expect. It's a death metal and grind gig, so it'll be full of us brainless metalheads having a grand time and too much alcohol. But tonight could be interesting. So anyway, off I go on the whole 100-metre walk to the venue. Back in Harden now after an excellent couple of days. Both gigs were killer. So firstly, Laibach. Oh yeah. That's really actually one of the best gigs I've ever been to, I reckon, and I've been to a ton of gigs. Yeah, they were just amazing, really. Like, first half hour was Sound of Music stuff, and yeah, I'm not quite sure what the crowd was expecting, because there was a bit of laughter, especially when they started Do Re Mi, which I'll show a clip of now.
Myself far, a long, long way to run.
I'm sure the fans appreciated it because they did it very well. Maria, the female singer, has an awesome voice, and Milan, he sounds awesome doing anything, really. My highlight for me was Lonely Goat Herder, which was just super camp. Made even more so camp by the fact that the main clean male singer on it, Boris, couldn't make the tour. So he filmed a rather amusing little bit that I'll show you a still of now. Yeah, it was just him camping it up to the extreme with a rather silly hat and what looked like a shotgun over his shoulder, maybe to show him as a goat herder, I don't know. But you could tell he was smiling throughout, so I think Laibach definitely see the joke. So after about 35 minutes, they went backstage a bit, and the band started up Wir Personen, which song I actually recognised. I don't have that many Laibach albums, or I have more now due to nefarious means. But I recognise that song off Nova Acropola, and yeah, that was bloody excellent. It was mostly instrumental. And then Milan came out and they did a whole lot of their own songs, some of which were incredibly heavy. Holy dooly. I've seen a lot of metal bands and this was a lot heavier. I think Cravada Gruda was the super heavy song that was just like, but yeah, they throughout the whole set there was some intense stuff. Very intense. I think Life is Life was perfect. And I think one of the newer songs, Resistance is Futile, was pretty impressive as well. But yeah, they had all shades of light and darkness, and really, really well done. They had great optics in the background, and well, actually all around the venue. They were showing it on the wall, including what looked like a bit of oral sex for about a couple of minutes. There was a bit up. It was slightly ambiguous, but then towards the end it was like, yeah, pretty sure that's what that is. I don't think that's a loaf of bread or anything. The crowd was very appreciative, you could tell, and the band seemed to enjoy it, but didn't really move a huge amount, except on, like, I think it's Tons Mitz Laibach, which is one of their hit songs, I suppose. That got the crowd going. It's a funny band that obviously take the piss out of totalitarian ideals and the like, but partway through the crowd, the singer Milan got everyone to put their hands up in the air, and then when he finally got everyone up, he said, "No Sieg Heiling." Although that said, a friend showed me footage of some chick in the crowd with a dress with Hitler on it who was Sieg Heiling for half the gig, so I hope she got escorted out, because yeah, that ain't on. It actually reminds me of Einstürzende Neubauten. I don't know if I said that right, but who cares. Another old European industrial band that sort of got a bit more musical over the time, you could say. Saw them once and they were super impressive, and I don't know, it just seems to be a thing. Maybe they've got a lot of percussive sort of influences that I really like, but bloody excellent. I was very impressed. They didn't have much, they had a bit of merch for sale, including like armbands with their classic sort of black cross thing on it. That I'll show you a picture now. I took of a guy in crowd in front of me. They possibly didn't do their somewhat questionable reputation overly well by showing 2 clips from the Iron Sky, somewhat silly Nazis on the Moon movies that they did the soundtracks for, I think. So yeah, that in the background was pretty amusing, but I think during one of the songs there was, I don't know, maybe he was a little tipsy. A guy behind me seemed to be yelling out for K-San. Maybe they've got a song that has a similar title to the Cold Chisel classic. Maybe he was just taking the piss, but yeah, they didn't play K-San. They did play Sympathy for the Devil by Rolling Stones. Sadly didn't play the Final Countdown, but what are you going to do? They didn't play anything off the Beatles Let It Be cover album they did either, but I was super impressed by the rest of it, believe me. Holy dooly. Did several encores, and yeah, amazing. Really amazing. So if you ever get the chance, check them out. After a nice relaxing day in my hotel, the next day was back to the usual heavy bloody metal. This was Obituary, Wormrot and Lo. So, sashayed over to the old metro, got in no worries, and yeah, a hell of a lot more packed than it was the other night. It was pretty chockers, I think. I don't think it had quite sold out, but they opened up the sort of upper tier sort of bits, so which was kind of good for filming. And yeah, there was noticeably a lot more people than at Laibach. So yeah, bloody excellent night though, and heaps of friends to catch up with, so that was excellent. I think I knew some total of about 4 people at Laibach, so yeah, this was a bit more social, and because there was 3 bands, there was more time for drinking. First band up was sludgy post-metal, I don't know, sort of metal band Lo from Sydney, who were pretty good actually. I hadn't actually seen them before, don't have any of their albums or anything, so knew nothing about it, but it was quite impressive. I watched them from the fancy press pit area, which as you'll see in the footage, there's a little boomy thing that's right next to the PA, but yes, at least I could get some vaguely decent shots for once instead of my usual filming behind someone's head quality. So yeah, they did it right, but yeah, then I needed another drink and I only watched about a quarter of their set, but got the crowd going, and was already chockers in there. I've been to other gigs where it's like a bit quiet for the opening bands, and they did it right, I think. And they were quite energetic. The singer was topical, talking about keeping angry about the fires and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, no, they went all right. I'll probably check them out again if I get the chance to see a whole set. Wormrot from Singapore. I think probably half the crowd, I think, were there to see them. And they went off for them as well. As you see in the footage, there was some pretty decent circle mosh action going on. And yeah, very good crowd response. Several of my mates afterwards were ecstatic about how good they were. Yeah, it was... I've seen a lot of grind bands over the year, and they were pretty good, but yeah, not super duper amazing, I've got to say. I still certainly enjoyed it, nothing wrong with it. And Singer did the whole jump in the crowd thing that I think the Lo guy had as well, and yeah, it worked. And I mean, for a three-piece, like one guitar, set of drums, and a singer, they had a big bloody sound, but yeah, I don't know. I'm picky with my grind, and it wasn't quite my thing, but they did alright. One of the good things about them was that they just had that right level of chunky mosh riff to fast, blasty, grindy bits. So yeah, that certainly worked in their favour, and yeah, whenever they play a chunkier sort of one, the crowd got a little keener, that's for sure. Headlining the night, though, was Mighty Obituary, all the way from Florida, who kicked ass. Bloody awesome. I've seen them 3 times before that, I think at MDF, which was on a slope and pretty crappy sounding. They toured Australia twice before last weekend, and I think one time they didn't have a lead guitarist and it was really lacking, and the other time they did and it was great, but this was even better because they played all the Cause of Death, which is my favourite of their albums. And yeah, they started with a handful of newer songs, of which I'll show a clip of part of one, because I was also in the nice press pit area there until they kicked everyone out because there was too many stage divers that getting dragged over the barrier. Or not stage divers, sorry, crowd surfers. Yeah. Yeah, so they played about, I don't know, 4 or 5 newer songs, and then wandered off for a bit, and then on came the intro music to Cause of Death. And yeah, they played that in its entirety all the way through, including the Celtic Frost cover. And yeah, it was bloody awesome. Yeah, Infected is such a killer song. Everything's killer on it, really. It is one of my favourite albums, so that was very impressed. One thing that really impressed me was the drum sound, because the album itself, the studio version, is thumping drums, which I just love. I'm sure it's all like replaced and everything, but yeah, that's one of my favourite drum sounds. And live, you managed to do it bloody good as well. So, and they were into it, and you could tell these guys enjoy what they do, and it really helps a lot. John Duddy's getting a little curvy, not that I can talk, but yeah, his voice is still on point, that's for sure. So yeah, the Cause of Death songs obviously went down quite a bit better, I think, than the newer ones. And yeah, I think Find the Arise, that massive crowd going berserk. It was, yeah, excellent. And it was just great watching the crowd enjoy it so much as well. I was sweating like a maniac in there trying to film it, but oh well. It was amazing. Then they finished with, like, I don't know, the last 3 songs, there was like a newer one in there and something off the Incomplete and the song Slowly We Rot. I was kind of hoping for a few more Slowly We Rot songs, but what are you going to do? Maybe one day they'll tour that album in its entirety. But no, I was very impressed, and I don't know, I was really surprised that they got such a large crowd, to tell the truth. Maybe it was the Wormrot factor, but Because last time they played, I don't think it was that chockers, but well, fine by me. I'm not complaining. And yeah, thanks a bunch to Soundworks for the press passes for both days. It was very good to be able to use a nice camera in there and yeah, venture slightly into the press pit area, which was a bit scary because everyone's got a bigger camera than me. But I got some ride photos for once, so yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Don't worry, kiddies, I still paid for my own tickets. I'm not that much of a scab. So I was very pleased that the guitar solo came out so well because I love James Murphy's work on Cause of Death and the guy did it perfect basically. It was good to see Terry Butler from Death and I don't know 6 million other bands, Massacre and so on up there on stage as well. So, but yeah, they after Slowly We Rot, then they played some weird country song. It's like, okay, whatever you want. It's the old clear out, gig's over, bugger off sort of song. So, yeah, I decided not to hang out too long, mainly because I had the missus back at the hotel. And I didn't want to get too smashed because I had to drive back to Arden the next day. So, all in all, bloody excellent. Very enjoyable. See you, folks.